My name is Shane Hutchins. I grew up in a Christian home and heard the gospel regularly on a weekly basis. But it wasn't until I was about 12 years old or so that I gave my life to the Lord. And even then, it wasn't a full surrender. There was a lot of things that I held on to in my life. And when I was about 16 or 17, I finally got to a point where I realized if the Christian doctrines were true, if the gospel was true, that I really needed to surrender fully to Him and to His control. And that was a real process to get to that point. But when I got to that point, my whole life changed. Direction, ambitions, dreams, goals, those kind of all went out the window in light of what Christ wanted for me. My faith in the Lord has affected the business in a great deal, and I have tried to determine what God's plans and goals would be for a small business instead of what would my goals be. And that's probably been the thing that has given us the most direction and changed course of what I would do naturally, instead of seeking the profits and money and power and a large company and things of that nature. It's been more, how can I help people, whether it's by building something in their backyard that will make their lives enjoyable, or if it's how can I help my employees. A number of them are Christians. How can I help them to walk with the Lord better, to give them a job that will provide income, but also a place where they can grow in the Lord and have others around that are going to help them and challenge them in their faith, as well as vendors. And the construction industry tends to be a lot of more hardcore folks that don't have religious backgrounds, and we've had a lot of opportunities just to have a life testimony to them. And they've seen things in us, and myself and our employees, and they recognize there's something different. And we've had comments to that extent. And so those are some of the ways we've seen Christ impact our business. The challenging part of it can be when we have to decide between profits and money or doing the right thing by walking with God. And we've been in a situation where a customer didn't want to pay a bill, and it was a pretty large amount of money, and that's gone on for 8 months. And we've kind of gone back and forth with him, and I've prayed about it a lot of times. We've had our church praying about it, and we've kind of gotten to a place where we've left it in the Lord's hands, say, Lord, you do what you want here. And just recently I contacted him, and he said, he made this statement, which I thought was very interesting. He said, you've called me an awful lot, and you've called my wife a couple times, and I have to say you've never one time been nasty or mean in your phone calls, and that means a lot to me. And so we're still working that situation. It looks like he's going to end up paying. But there's a situation where we walked with the Lord, did what we felt like He was telling us to do. And it was painful at times, and we didn't know if we'd ever get the money, and we're still not fully sure. But it's a place where we've seen my Christian faith impact my work. The purpose of my business has been a challenge to put into a vision statement, because as I've read vision statements, they tend to be self-aggrandizing and focus on what we do. And purely my goal, when people ask me what I do, obviously I'm in landscaping business, but that is so secondary to my passions and my goals. My goal is to glorify God and to become like Christ. And at this chapter of my life, He has chosen to put me into a construction business. So the goal of my business is truly to glorify God in all aspects of life. Our time at church on Sundays is such a small amount of our weekly time, and so the workplace is a huge amount of time that I need to be serving the Lord and glorifying Him. And we do that a lot of ways just by the way we live our life. And we're told in Peter to be ready always to give an answer to the hope that lies within us. And that comes in many ways through suffering, if you read through 1 Peter. And as we go through difficulties and trials, people will see that. And that's when they're going to say, hey, what gives? Why are you different here? And so that's a big part of how we glorify God. It's by going through normal life situations that everybody's going to face and walking through it by the grace of God and having joy and peace in the midst of sometimes unjoyful situations. It doesn't really matter what job, occupation, or title we have. What is important is that God is honored and that we are at work on purpose.